Dispatchers help callers on the worst days of their lives. For over 25 years, we've been there. A silent partner in millions of calls thanks to our redundant and diverse networks that ensure call delivery. Today, cities are bigger, traffic more congested, and the challenge is more complex. But you're never alone, because InDigital is quietly improving, implementing, and driving the next generation of 911, so you're supported in every situation. Make the switch at indigital.net.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact of the first responder answering the call? Available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
Call that I remember the most or think about or like dread every time I hear the road name or something. It was early on. I was still in training, so I didn't take the call, but I think it was like a Sunday morning. This couple had called in and said, hey, we found this lady in our house when we woke up. And so we sent law enforcement out there, and she seemed to be having some kind of medical emergency. So we ended up transporting her to the hospital. And then probably about an hour and a half later, we had gotten a call from the same neighborhood of this father that said he found his daughter stabbed in the bed.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is going to be Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital, a leader next-gen core services, and a big shout-out to subscribers, as always, and just thank you for everything. And it has been an excellent week. Been talking with a lot of 911 professionals and recording a bunch of episodes. Yeah, so we've got tons that are going to be coming out, and it is, I don't know, I think it's like the 17th of January or something like that. These won't come out for a few weeks. However, when you hear them, you are going to dig them. And my next guest today is Emily, and she is a 911 dispatcher and CTO with Henderson County Sheriff's Office out of North Carolina. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So, I have to right off the bat just kind of mention that you have had no sleep, which is crazy. And the reason I say it too is because some of the first episodes that I recorded, this is going to be probably when this one comes out, it might be like episode 600 something. So in the beginning though, episode number 6, I was working midnight shift, and my co-host at the time, Whitney, we worked our whole midnight shift, and we had a couple of dispatchers from the agency north of us come down. They worked midnight shift as well. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting there just chugging coffee. We're like, I don't know how this episode is going to go. So the 4 of us are sitting in one of the rooms in the dispatch center, and we're just staring at each other with our eyes just like, we're like, okay, what do we talk about? Like, none of us, the 4 of us had not had any sleep. I think when we finally finished, it was about 10 or 11. And it wasn't because the episode went that long. The episode, I think, was maybe an hour or maybe a little over an hour, but we just stayed in there talking and talking and talking. And then when we finally looked at our watches, we're like, I think we should go home because we're going to have to come back here in a few hours. Like, holy crap. So I commend you. Thank you for coming in. I know what that feels like. There were a couple times, though, that I remember staying over. And because I was there, someone had like called in or something. And they're like, hey, you're here. You're going to work. Like, dude, what? Oh, yeah. So you're taking me back there and everything. But let's go back in time. And I want to learn more about you and see just how did you get into public safety to begin with? Because you've got about 4 years now, correct?
Right. Yeah. So it was during COVID, or I guess right before COVID started. I started a new job, and my college degree is in business management, and I had started a new job at a bank, and then I was there for about 3 weeks or so, and then COVID hit and they sent us home. And I was working from home, and in that time I had bought a house, and so I was living by myself and working from home. And I did that for about a year and really learned that I was a people person and could not stand sitting at home alone. Sometimes the only person I talked to was my dog, and I was like, I have to do something else.
Yeah.
And I was just living for the weekend and not really enjoying what I was doing. And I was really good friends with a paramedic that worked for Henderson County. And she was like, I think you would be really good at this. And, I had watched all like the 911 shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I did like a little bit more research, and the schedule was good. And I mean, nothing like I'd ever worked before, but having a week off every month was very enticing. And I knew county retirement was great. And those are the things you think about when you get older, is retirement and insurance.
Right. Yeah. No, of course.
And so I really didn't know what I was getting into, but just applied, and it was a long process getting hired. And, but yeah, I got into it and haven't looked back.
Did you get a chance to do like a sit along or anything like that?
No. So I, was hired kind of in the middle of COVID. It was early
so you couldn't even come in. It was like virtual stuff. Like,
well, so I came in for interviews and everything, but I didn't sit at a console like they have been doing recently,
right,
with anybody. So like I came into the center and they introduced me to everybody on shift and showed me the center, but I didn't put a headset on and listen or anything like that.
So what was eye-opening then for you? And you can even compare it if you want to, like you said, you had already seen some of the shows and like all this other stuff, but in comparison, what was eye-opening? And I mean, did you feel overwhelmed at all when you like first got in there and you see everything?
Maybe, I don't know. I just didn't really go in with any kind of expectation.
Yeah.
So I think that made it a little bit easier. I know like when I took my first 911 call, my heart was beating out of my chest and I was like, oh my gosh. But, do a few of those and then it's fine. But I don't know that I really remember being super overwhelmed until I got to law enforcement training on the radio. And doing that day after day after day got a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that go on the radio. And so my very first day in dispatch was also the day that I found out that I got the job. So it was 2001, and I'm living just down the road from this small PD. The chief of police shows up at my house, and he asks if I want the job. Now, prior to that, I'd had the interview and everything 2 months prior to that, and I hadn't heard a word. So I thought, well, I guess I didn't get the job. And then out of nowhere, he shows up, and he's there, offers me the job, and I'm thinking I'm going to start next week. And he's like, you start tonight. And I thought, oh, hell, like, are you for real? And he goes, you want the job, right? Well, I said, no, I do. I just wasn't expecting to start tonight. So I go in that first night, and they're showing me everything. I watch my trainer take the first call that had come in on that shift. And when he was done, I actually applauded him. And I said, well done, Harry. Well done. And he goes, oh, thank you. You don't get a lot of thanks in this, profession or whatever. And he goes, you're next. And I thought, no, what? And he goes, yeah, you're next. And I said, there's no other training. Like, are you kidding me right now? So that was me getting thrown to the wolves. And that was 2001. So those were some of the things that just kind of freaked me out. But, like you were saying, when you get on radio, there are some things that are eye-opening or can be overwhelming as well, because you've got so many different agencies that you're watching over. And sometimes you don't know what to say. Like, for example, for me, my trainer sitting next to me, I wanted to do such a good job that I was just in my head about my responses on the radio. And even if it was like and it sounds stupid saying it out loud, but this is how it happened. Even if the response was a 10-4, I turned and looked at my trainer and I said, it's 10-4, right? That's all I have to say. And she's like, yeah. or she's like 10-4. Like, okay. It's like, I just want to make sure I'm saying what I'm supposed to be saying. Plus, I don't want to piss off the officers.
Right.
And she goes, it's going to happen. Okay. You're going to piss them off, even if you're doing the right thing sometimes. So don't worry about it. Just do what you got to do. I'm like, okay. So that kind of got me through. So for you, going through, the training process and all, getting to radios, what were some of those things that kind of got you?
I think just the fast pace of it all.
Mm-hmm.
With the rotation that we work, our last set of days is 4 weekday days, which is the busiest. And after you've worked all month or trained all month on the radio doing the same thing, you don't really get a break or anything. And then those last 4 days, it gets overwhelming. And I think I just had to remind myself that, I'm not going to be on the radio every single day for the rest of my career. You'll get those breaks and stuff like that. But I guess just not having a break and it being constant every day at that high capacity is what was just a little bit overwhelming for me.
I think also it's when you're going through all of it, you can train and train and train, but that first time that you're on the radio, even with your trainer there or however you do your training, we had 4 different phases. The 4th one was the shadow phase where the trainer's like on the other side of the room and you're just working with the team. And if you need the trainer, they come and help you out. But it's that moment where when you're on your own and someone yells out, I've got to chase, or I'm chasing someone, is and then you jump in. Have you had a chase? Have you been on the radio when a chase happens?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And my first one, I don't really remember my first one. But those are the times that we get really excited, like chases or structure fires or anything that's not just another domestic or,
right.
Not just another traffic stop.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Or you have an officer who yells out, I have one, I'm chasing one. And you're looking down, you're like, you didn't check out anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, I don't even know where you're at. And another officer keys up, like, Central, where are they at? I'm like, I'm trying to find that out myself. So-and-so, what's your 20? And they're just, you just hear them running like, oh my Lord. And if it's in a car and you have an AVL, it's a little different, right? But if they're just straight up running and you don't even know where the vehicle is at and everyone is just coming at you, and then your partners are like, where are they? It's like, they never checked out. They never checked out. That part, I think is always some of the most nerve-wracking, or when someone is chasing like someone on a motorcycle. And I remember one of the things that really sticks out was hearing an officer say, I'm slowing down, or the sergeant saying, slow down, don't chase, that motorcycle. You're never going to catch it. And you hear the officer saying, I see debris. And it's like, oh God. And someone crashed. Luckily on a couple of them, the person who was driving or riding the bike was like walking after there's like debris and the person's just walking away. And I'm like, well, thank the Lord that they're at least walking away, because that could be bad,
Yeah.
if they're seeing debris. Now, do you remember any of your like other earlier calls or anything like that when you were starting out?
I know one of the first full arrest calls that I took, it was just an older man, and I don't know if I really remember the details correctly, but how I remember it, it was just an older man on the side of the road at like a roadside stand, like a farm stand or whatever, and it was his niece or his daughter or something that called in, and it's a road that I travel pretty often, so like every time I drive by there, I'm like, oh, I remember that call,
Oh, yeah.
And we had one, I think this is probably like the call that I remember the most or think about or like dread every time I hear the road name or something. It was early on. I was still in training, so I didn't take the call, but I think it was like a Sunday morning. This couple had called in and said, hey, we found this lady in our house when we woke up. And so we sent law enforcement out there, and she seemed to be having some kind of medical emergency. So we ended up transporting her to the hospital. And then probably about an hour and a half later, we had gotten a call from the same neighborhood of this father that said he found his daughter stabbed in the bed. And it ended up being the mother had either like a psychotic episode or like why can I not think of the word? When your sugar's low or high.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Diabetic emergency.
Diabetic emergency.
And she had ended up stabbing her daughter. And so it just how things, I don't know, just there's been calls like that to just like how things work out. And it's like multiple calls over the course of the day or the night that is how the story plays out. But that's probably one of the earlier, more traumatic calls that I've been a part of that really sticks with me.
I think a lot of those calls that we get that end up sticking with us, there's always a sound or I don't know something else that kind of triggers that memory. But also, I feel like sometimes when we're working through those calls, like our story can also be someone else's kind of inspiration. Like if someone else has something similar, you're able to talk to them and say, I had a call like that a few years ago, or however long it might be, a week, a day, whatever. And this is how I got through it, or this is what happened. And it allows others to not feel alone. Because one of the things that I've found out doing what I do, a lot of folks in our profession feel alone. And it's crazy for that to happen. There's so many of us that we shouldn't feel like that. But a lot of times too, people don't talk because of maybe a fear of others thinking, well, they can't handle it, or this or that, and that fear is there. And luckily, a lot of that has been changing since about 2016 on to now. A lot of it has been changing. There's been more resources and everything else. But I that's why I not only advocate for 911 professionals, but also our stories and sharing those stories, because there's so much power in those stories as well as in your voice. So yeah, those types of calls, those that stick with us, I definitely have a ton of those of mine. And I'm just glad that you're here and you're doing the things that you're doing. And I mean, it looks like it got into your blood like that.
Yeah, I mean, it really did. Like I don't know, I just feel like I'm making a difference every day, even if, no day's the same, but you get the same routine people that you deal with every day, or, your regulars or stuff like that. But I mean, I just feel like it's so much better than working Monday through Friday, making people home loans.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
in comparison to the business management and everything that was going on, like, did you even just this 4 years in, did you imagine the difference from what it was to what you're doing now?
I really didn't. And like I said, I went in with like zero expectations.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I just found something that really makes me feel like I'm making a difference, like I'm helping people. And I couldn't imagine going back to a 9 to 5. I couldn't imagine doing something mundane again. And I remember before I got this job, I was driving to work one day and I was like, do people really do this every day? Drive the same route to go to the same office, to do the same tasks every single day for 30 years.
Right.
I was like, there's no way I can do this forever.
It's like the Truman Show.
Yeah.
Everything is the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been excellent to have you on, learn more about you, hear your story and everything. I've got one last question for you as we go into the wrap up of this episode. Over your 4 years, everything that you've gone through, and especially with what you were saying just now, not being able to imagine doing anything else. If you could go back in time to those 4 years ago to talk to yourself in the beginning, to give yourself some advice or anything like that, what would you tell yourself?
Oh gosh. I really don't know. um, I would say like stick with it, but
Mhm.
I have.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
um, I don't know, just enjoy it. And that's probably not the answer you were looking for.
no. That's good. No, that is good because a lot of people will say, like for myself, if I could go back in time and talk to myself, I would tell myself just to keep going, that everything is going to be okay.
Yeah.
That what you end up going through, it's going to be okay. And it's basically the same thing like you were saying. You would just tell yourself, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because as you're talking now, you can't see yourself doing anything else. And maybe in the beginning, maybe you didn't realize it or whatever, but maybe you were like a lot of us when we're taking that first step on something new, you're like, can I do this? Or am I making the right decision? And even if you had a question like that back then, 4 years ago, telling yourself to just enjoy it. What's
Yeah.
going to be coming up? That's perfect.
And I think maybe like there will be hard days and hard shifts and hard calls, but the good 100% outweighs the bad. And your coworkers become your family, really,
Mhm.
because you spend the most time with them.
That's for sure.
But yeah, just enjoy it and have fun.
Awesome. That was excellent. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you for what you do in this profession. And if you hang tight for just one moment, for those who are watching and listening, if you have any comments, questions, or you ever want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. But for everything, you can simply go to links.co/WTT podcast, and that's links with 2 I's.co/WTT podcast. You'll find everything there. This can be seen on Facebook, YouTube, as well as X and LinkedIn. This episode is sponsored by InDigital, a leader in next-gen core services, and then you can listen 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you all in the next one. Imagine listening to someone's worst day every single day. Imagine listening as someone experiences life through their worst nightmare to the miracle of birth or a life saved. I'm Ricardo Martinez, a former 911 dispatcher, and for years, I've been recording the voices of a hidden world, ours. I've provided a space for 911 dispatchers to share their powerful stories. It started as a peer support session continues. Dispatchers sitting together, sharing out loud, or writing down what they couldn't say. Some stories will grip you. Stories of heartbreak, resilience, and calls that haunt us long after the line goes quiet. But Imagine Listening is more than heavy emotion. It's about healing. It's about laughing through the chaos, lifting each other up, and reminding the world that dispatchers are human too. The lighthearted will balance the heavy. Experience the power of storytelling, a podcast for the thin gold line and those who want to understand it. This is Imagine Listening. Your worst day is our everyday. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.